James is only 16 years old, but he is already making $48,000 a year working remotely for a digital marketing agency in Australia. He is homeschooled and his parents are very supportive, so he is actually allowed to work 4 days a week while he does his schooling the other day of the week. And because it's part-time, he would actually be making $60,000 a year, but he's only making $48,000 because he doesn't work full-time. But this is an incredible story, and James is an incredible young man. I know his story is going to inspire you, and I'm very excited to share it with you. Thanks so much for being here, James.
Great to be here, Seth. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing your story with everyone, because it is so remarkable what you're doing at 16. So why don't you tell people what is your current job? What are you doing right now?
So currently I'm working as a PPC specialist for a digital marketing agency based in Melbourne. And so my job is 100% remote. And so as a PPC specialist, I manage Google ads and Facebook ad accounts, mostly Google ads, and more leaning towards search. And my day-to-day responsibility kind of includes like auditing Google ads account, making optimizations, just adding negative keywords, and even creating some landing pages as well, etc. And yeah, so right now I'm working 4 days per week, Monday to Thursday. And so it totals around 30 hours per week. And so I'm working part-time, and currently I'm making $48,000 per year at my current job, plus 10% superannuation on top of that. So yeah, it's definitely been great and definitely loving my job so far.
Awesome, man. I mean, there's so much to talk about here. I mean, you're making $48,000 a year at 16, which is unheard of, guys. And remember, as we'll talk about, you live in Australia, and just to give people some context, you are homeschooled, correct?
Yeah, correct.
So your parents like work this out with you and are allowing you to work this job. And are you still doing some kind of school?
To be honest, I'm not like focusing too much on schooling right now. And my parents and I have talked about it, and my parents are happy with me to dedicate a lot of my time into this career. And it's because schooling's not really going to serve me much purpose, to be honest. So yeah, definitely been dedicating a lot of time into my digital marketing craft, really honing my skills and putting a lot of time and effort into my current job.
As you should. I'm so happy to hear that, guys. Dude, your parents are so awesome to be supporting you like this, guys. This is the Skip College for Success vision that I had in the book. I mean, all that energy, all that mental capacity that James has at this age is being used for something practical. He's making more money than a lot of adults while he's still living at home, and he's not wasting his time and energy learning a lot of nonsense that's not going to serve him. There's just so much I want to say. I don't even know where to begin. So like 48,000 a year. And so if you're working full time, so that's at part time, you're working 4 days a week. If you were working full time, what would your salary be?
Yeah, great question. So working full time, my salary would be $60,000 per year.
That's incredible. So yeah, and then you work 4 days a week. You got the superannuation, which is an Australian thing. You were telling me that where the employer puts like 10% of your salary into like a retirement account.
Yeah, correct. So it's pretty much money. They pretty much allocate extra 10% of income. Actually, that's depending on your employer, but in my case, my employer allocates an extra 10% of my income into a retirement fund, so that it keeps building up until I'm 65, so that I can have some nest egg to lean on when I retire. So
yeah, this is so amazing. I mean, guys, I haven't done a video about retirement savings, but I mean, like, you start, like, I didn't start saving for retirement until I was in my 30s, because I was so, I went to school and I did all this, it took me years to discover a marketable skill. Starting at 16, you're starting to save $5,000 a year at age 16. I mean, you have like 50 or 60 years of savings before you retire. You're just so far ahead of the game. especially compared to people in high school, people who are about to take on major debt loads in college. It's just awesome. So a lot of people, I know everybody wants to know, like, how the heck did you get this into this position when you're 16 years old? I mean, guys, like, you're not even 17. You're not even, it's like, you'd be essentially the equivalent of like a sophomore in high school. So how did you get into this position? Like, what was the journey like from when you discovered my course until now? So like, what was going on in your life when you first discovered my course?
Yeah, so when I first discovered your course, I know that I didn't want to go to college. And so before I discovered your course, I know that like I didn't want to go to college and my parents were okay with it. But as long as I found a good career path, they're okay with the idea. So I was looking to other career options, such as maybe being a plumber or an electrician. But I stumbled upon your course one day from a video from Improvement Pill, and you know, it kind of blew my mind how digital marketing is this really in-demand marketable skill that not only pays well, but it's also very fulfilling, has great work-life balance, and it's in really high demand. So I decided to take a course and finished it in 2 months, did your assignment, and followed everything to a T, and then just started applying to jobs. And I remember around September 2021, I got an internship, a fully remote internship at an agency based in Sydney. And just after 3 months, I worked there for 6 months pretty much. And then the reason I left that company is because it wasn't like the best company to work for and kind of had some issues there, but that's okay because that's in the past. And so essentially I resigned from that company and started applying to other jobs. And then in May, I was able to land this PPC specialist job that I have now. And I'm super grateful for the opportunity, super grateful to my employer. And yeah, it's just the journey. There were a lot of ups and downs, but in the end, it was totally worth it and it all paid off. And I'm really glad I didn't quit, give up, and kept pushing. And now that I've landed this amazing job, like everything's just been really amazing for me.
The first thing I got to ask you is like, how did the interview go or the application? And like, at what point did they find out you were 16 years old, and what was their take on that? Did they have a problem with that? Clearly not, but like, what was their response?
So essentially, yeah, they pretty much found out straight away because I added my date of birth on my resume. So my employer would have known that I was 16 from the start, but he didn't really care too much. He didn't really ask about my age. Surprisingly, he just wanted to know that I had the necessary skills to take on the job and to, ultimately get good results for the clients. And so, yeah, my interviewer, who is now my employer, wasn't like too concerned about my age. He was more asking about my skills and experience. So I guess the lesson from that is like you shouldn't employers especially in digital marketing, they don't care like about your degree, they don't care about your age. They just care about your skills and experience, and if you can do the job and get good results for the clients. And so yeah, just that's like a big takeaway.
Yeah.
It's a big takeaway from my own experience. And so, yeah, just don't worry too much about your age. If you think you're young, I promise you're not, because I was able to do it at 16. And, if you don't have a degree, it doesn't matter. Like, they're not going to ask about your degree. And I think that's a concern a lot of people have when starting digital marketing. But I promise you, they will not ask about your degree. It's just highly unnecessary in this field.
It's so, guys, he said it all. I mean, this is a 16-year-old who's got a job telling you. I mean, I've been ranting about this for years about how you don't need a degree, but literally this is the proof. I mean, clearly at 16, you do not have a college degree. And I would take James's advice if you're older too. I mean, whether you're younger or older, people ask me a lot about age. It's like, it's really about your state of mind and your value. It's all about what can you do for the company. And James, from the very beginning, just say as a student, he stood out. He was just so driven. He did all the assignments. He was right on top of everything, sending me very, very good questions. Like clearly paid attention to everything that I was saying in the lectures. He was very active in the group and on the coaching calls. And he just did the same things you've heard all my other successful students do. And again, it doesn't matter what your background is, so long as you have the passion and you can provide value to companies. So I think we should take that clip of you and like send it out to high schools everywhere. I think it's very inspiring about what's possible. So tell people a little bit more about the job. Like, what kind of ad budgets are you managing at this job?
So the ad budgets are ranging from $500 to $30,000 per month. And so in total, I'm probably managing around, I'd say like around $100,000 per month in ad budget, which is kind of mind blowing to me. And currently I'm managing around 8 clients. And yeah, at this new job, managing a lot bigger ad budgets than I was before. And I will be taking on bigger client accounts in the future. So that ad budget will definitely increase. And in terms of the job as well, like I've definitely been learning a lot more than I was at my previous company. So yeah, everything's just been amazing for me.
Yeah, I can't, like, I have to like just repeat what you said and just focus in on it, guys. That's incredible to be managing $100,000 a month in ad spend at 16. But also in your first, really your first, your first real position. I had the same experience in my first agency. They handed me $100,000 in ad spend. It's very common. But it's amazing to have that level of responsibility at your age. And when you're talking with the teams or you're interfacing with your boss, again, is your age or anything an issue? Did they have any issue with handing off this kind of responsibility to you?
No, my boss didn't, like my employee didn't have any concerns with my age. He was like, he was really excited to bring me on, and he just cared about my skills, and just he guided me through everything, and he's very supportive and gives a lot of guidance as well. So yeah, he didn't really ask about my age. He wasn't like too concerned with it. He never mentioned it once. So yeah, I'd say no.
Yeah, guys, I want to, I'm just focusing on this obviously because it's such an extraordinary story. And also you don't conduct yourself like, you guys, when you're younger, if you have, I've noticed people who come from a background or an environment where their parents maybe are self-employed or have a certain attitude and a way of teaching their kids about money or life and giving them responsibility. It's like Kyan. I don't know if you saw an interview with Kyan, who's 20. He'd been doing sales jobs when he was 13. So he has a more mature way of being when he's talking. And even if you're younger, if you can develop this. And James, if I were talking to you, I might, you definitely look younger. I might think that you're in your early 20s, but you don't, if I was on the phone with you, it's not like I think a typical teenager, you could tell when you're on the phone if they were like, yeah, so your Google Ads accounts are like doing pretty good. I don't know, maybe like you could spend more money, or like we could reduce the CPC. That's my teenager impression. So you don't come across that way. It's just like I get so passionate about this because in my book I talk about like what's possible in a young person's life when you get the right training and mentorship and you're already like so mature in how you conduct yourself and in your job. So I won't even mention the age thing again. So let's just talk about your boss. And your company. What's the work-life balance like? What's the culture like? Like, what's a typical day like for you?
Yeah, so essentially, so my work, so since I have to match their time, my work, it starts from 7 a.m. in the morning to 3:30, but I'm completely happy with that. And I'm really happy with that because I get to end work earlier. So And my boss, he doesn't micromanage. I don't do any time tracking. He just even said to me, like, take lunch break whenever you want, and he doesn't really have like set rules. He's like very flexible about everything. So yeah, he doesn't like micromanage everything I do. And so work environment and work-life balance has been extremely great. And sometimes like a couple times as well, he's given me like an early leave as well. So like when I'm working throughout the day, if I finish my work early, he just like gives me an early leave as well. Sometimes, not always, but yeah, my boss, he's really amazing. I really love the company I'm working at because I guess the company I was working at before, they would micromanage quite a bit, but now my new company, they don't micromanage at all. So it's definitely great to have that stressful work environment like off your shoulders, and it's just been a really amazing experience for
Yeah.
me.
And
And
guys, and
company.
if you don't, micromanagement, means obviously they like kind of they're in your face about every little thing you do. And companies are learning that employees can perform better, especially in digital marketing, when they're given trust and treated like adults. And it sounds like that's what you have there, which is awesome. And what I'm curious, you talk about support. When you got hired, I mean, I know at your other job you had managed some accounts, but now you're managing like 6 figures a month. So did they like ease you into that? Did they give you some type of onboarding? Did you have like your boss? Was he kind of like helping you out, like explaining the accounts to you? Did he give you some kind of guidance?
Yeah, so essentially, yeah, my boss will like kind of like guide me every step of the way, and then we'll jump on like Zoom meetings and kind of discuss the accounts, the ad budget, and like the main goals and everything. So I guess the first 2 weeks was very light, very light work. I didn't have to do much, and my boss was just like guiding me, and he didn't like give me a lot of work straight away. So yeah, like first couple weeks was really relaxed and chill, and my boss would guide me through the accounts and what like my responsibilities are. And so yeah, he didn't give me like a ton of responsibilities at first. He just gave me a little, and then just over time he added my responsibilities little by little, so that like I can manage more responsibilities while what in a very like, should I say, like, so I can like pretty much manage more workload in a less stressful way. And
Yeah.
so yeah, everything was great at the start. He's always been supportive, and yeah, everything's been
That's
really good.
that's awesome, man. I mean, it sounds like a great job. What do your parents think of all this?
Yeah, so my parents are really proud of me, proud of what I've achieved, and they're really proud that I chose digital marketing as a career path as well. Not only because it's in really high demand and it pays well, but also it's because it's something that I like. Because a lot of you know a lot of people in life, they don't really like work they don't really like work jobs that they don't like. It's not something they're like passionate about. It's probably because like their parents forced them to, I don't know, become a lawyer, become a doctor. So they're really proud of everything I've accomplished.
Yeah, I mean, would they surprise that you now have an actual job making like an adult salary?
Yeah, absolutely. And if they kind of told them to some of their friends, and they were kind of in shock because obviously 16-year-old making $48,000 is, like you said, kind of unheard of, and it's not something that's very common because like most 16-year-olds, like they kind of work at Macca's, I guess, Macca's or KFC, and make like, I don't know, like $10, $11 per hour. But the fact that I'm earning $48,000 per year, they were really surprised. And not only surprised, but they're also very supportive and always encouraging as well.
That's so great. I'm going to ask you this, and you know, I may leave it in, I may not, but like you're obviously you're Asian. Where's your family from?
So my family's from South Korea.
South Korea. So immigrant families are kind of known for really pushing college on their children. And so
Absolutely.
I'm sure a lot of people like are wondering like, what's up? Like, how are your parents so cool? Like, what was that, you know, obviously that wasn't an issue, but can you speak to that just a little bit, like about your parents' attitude?
So should kind of say that I guess my parents are different. So because like, after seeing how hard I've worked to really hone my digital marketing skills and go on this pursue this as a career path, and after getting a good high paying job, they realized that like college isn't necessary. And but before that as well, like they were like more lenient and very flexible, and they weren't just like leaning towards the idea of just going to college. They were okay with me pursuing a career in plumbing or electrician. The point is that my parents just kind of wanted to pursue a career that I like and that I'd be proud of. And so, but honestly, my relatives back in my home country, they definitely won't feel the same way, because like obviously they don't know that I'm pursuing this career path. And if they did, I think they'll go pretty nuts, because you know especially in South Korea, like a lot of people are like built into the idea that you have to graduate from college, especially from a good college, to succeed in life and to become successful. And so, yeah, I'm just really glad that I had parents that really supported me. And honestly, if it wasn't from them, I don't know if I would have made it this far. So, yeah, big thank you to my parents. And when a lot of my other Asian friends, their parents like are always pushing them to go to college, always paying huge money to like get tuition and stuff. So yeah, I'd say my parents are a lot different.
I want to thank you so much for sharing your story. It's so inspiring. I'm sure everybody is inspired who's watched this, regardless of your age. And I am so proud of you. Everyone in the course is also very proud of you and very excited for what's in store for your future. And I'm very happy that you're making money and you have such a supportive family. It's just really wonderful. So I just want to again, thank you for being here and ask, well, first of all, is there anything you want to say to me before we go?
Yes, I just wanted to say thanks, Seth, for everything. Thanks for this interview and for inviting me here today. And thank you for your course as well. Your course has been a life changer for me financially and from the career path as well. And so, through your course, I've been able to grow and learn a lot and be where I'm at today. So just want to thank you for that. And also to your students as well. To the people that are looking to purchase your course, if you're maybe like in high school looking to get in digital marketing, or like maybe you're in college or a college graduate and you think that maybe you're too young to get started, or that you don't have the necessary skills, just take action and take the first step. Definitely purchase Seth's course, and I can guarantee that if you really follow everything to a T, then you'll eventually land that digital marketing job. So, yeah, don't don't ever think you're ever too young, because employers don't really care about your age. I was able to do it at 16, so I know that people in their 20s will definitely be able to get a job in digital marketing. So yeah, just don't be too concerned about your age and just get started. Take the first step.
Awesome, man. That is great advice. and you're living proof of how accurate that is, guys. Remember, as we said again and again, these skills are in demand. Companies need people who know this stuff. And, we've seen stories from, all different backgrounds, all different ages. And James is just a really very special and wonderful example of that. So thanks again, James. It's great chatting with you. We're definitely going to do a follow-up interview maybe a year from now. And I'll be excited for that. And we'll talk soon.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll definitely be in touch.
Definitely. All right. See you, James.
Okay, see you, sir.